back to DukascopyTV. Joining me today in the studio is Dr. Rouben Indjikian, founder of the Global Commodities Forum Foundation. Rouben, it's great to have you here. Now, excellent. Now, previously you were involved in the Global Commodities Forum and are in the process of starting the GCF Foundation. Could you tell us a little bit more about the foundation and what role it's going to play?
Thank you. Yes. At the end of my career with the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, I was privileged to be in charge of the commodities program when commodities came back in a great way into the international agenda. It became very evident to me, until now, there is no such a platform whereby the stakeholders will meet and try to build up step by step a consensus on perennial and key issues of commodities, which is the instability of markets and excessive volatility of prices. There are a number of major cross-cutting issues which are common to the producers of different groups of commodities, be it energy or minerals or metals or agriculture. So while they can continue to discuss their sectorial issues and their industry issues between themselves, the main commodity producers have a strong interest to come together to start discussing these cross-cutting issues and presenting their views to policymakers and regulators, giving them signals on how to better adjust the regulatory process so that the market efficiency will not be imperiled.
Why do global commodity issues continue to be a key theme in negotiations about the state and future of the worldwide economy?
Yes, this is a very interesting question. As you know, the last decade was characterized by a very long boom of commodities. And the international press is writing a lot about it, and specialized business, media and academia and the industries. Why? Because we virtually came back as if we are in the 70s when the first and second oil crisis happened and became the main theme at that time. Now again, the commodities are at the center of the debate because of these long-term challenges, as I said, and also because of the change of the nature of commodity markets, which are now the price formation and price discovery is taking place in futures market, and it is becoming a part of derivatives world, and commodities became like any other asset class, and they are determined by financial market. So this active discussion of commodities, I think, will continue. And this regular consultation will help to resolve these acute problems, both in short term, but also in long term, which is more important, because as history shows, the commodities were at the roots of many conflicts, and we have to draw the lessons of history and try to avoid these conflicts while organizing ourselves in terms of producing commodities, distributing them in a more even way so that the world population will have its demands met in a proper way and in a well-structured and planned way.
Now, what commodities have performed best despite the ongoing economic global slowdown, do you think, Rouben?
In fact, commodity prices, in spite of their recent decline, are still relatively high by historical standards. And the correlation between commodity prices are quite close because of the new price formation mechanisms. But at the same time, as the future markets show, for example, the price of oil is gravitating around $100. And at some point, the Saudi Minister of Petroleum speaking about equilibrium price for OPEC, which will be interesting, was speaking about $80. In other words, the prices are a bit higher than they would have been accepted by OPEC members as the just price. At the same time, the debate is going on whether the some deceleration in growth in China and India and other major emerging economies is putting a question mark to the notion of super cycle. In other words, an ever-increasing demand for commodities due to the growth of these economies. The question is quite complex, but to my mind, the relatively high prices are still here to stay in spite of the low growth.
You mentioned that commodities are doing quite well, considering. What do you think are the challenges in terms of precious metals, Rouben?
I think the prices on gold and silver and even other precious metals is a bit separate story in terms of the factors influencing the price formation. If it will be compared, for example, for the prices of other metals. The reason here lies in the psychology of investors and their decision to diversify their portfolios and their decision to go towards so-called safe haven. And as the yields of other assets are relatively low, many investors go towards buying gold, for example, as an asset in their portfolio. That by itself increased demand for gold and keeps its price at a quite high level. Also, the issue of finding new mines in remote areas and the issue of cost inflation and the new investments which are needed to expand the gold production to meet the current demand are also factors which are keeping prices high. And I think they will still stay high until the questions of currency crisis and the new monetary architecture of the world, which is one of the main topics of today under discussion at IMF and in G20, will be resolved, and this nervousness of the investors will diminish.
Rouben, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. The pleasure was mine.
Now that's all we have time for at the moment. Click back to Dukascopy TV for an interview with my colleague Dermot looking at global business negotiations. But for now, goodbye.